Sam, so glad to have you on here, sir. I've been stoked on your music for a bit now, and I'm so glad that we're chatting.
Me too.
It took a while, but we're here.
Yeah.
Uh, just getting right into it with you here. When did you become interested in making music?
Um, I think I was that's my dog. I don't know if you heard that, but I think I
No,
was
but hopefully later on we'll get more of a
yeah,
bigger audio on that.
right. I think I was 15.
Okay.
Or maybe 14. Um, but that was when I found my stepdad's guitar in the closet. I was snooping and I found it and then I started playing it while he was at work because he said no, I couldn't play it. And so yeah, I snuck it out, and then I started like just kind of immediately writing songs. And then yeah, rest is history.
Had a little bit of a rebellious streak to you, huh?
I was snooping.
You're
Yeah,
snooping. You're in there snooping.
I was. Yeah, I used to wear my mom's shirts to school too sometimes. And
Snooping and stealing.
yeah, yeah, I was bad.
At what point did you finally get your own guitar? In that it wasn't like a problem with stealing your stepfather's.
Yeah, I think eventually, I showed him that I was playing it, and that I taught myself some stuff on it, and I think he was impressed at the dedication because I hadn't shown any kind of discipline toward anything when I was
Hey,
that age.
yeah, you
So
were a rebel, of course. Yeah.
exactly.
The only thing you're dedicated to is stealing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Being a bad
exactly.
kid.
Yeah, and so he was like, "Wow!" And so I think they gave me my uncle's old guitar. They like contacted my uncle because he didn't play it and he had a few, and so yeah, gave
Wow.
it. Yeah,
What does your stepfather think of your music career now?
dude, who knows, man? I don't think he would like it, but my mom split with him, and that was probably for the best.
Did he
Now,
take the guitar with him though when he split?
no, you know what's funny is he actually gave it to me, um, and then I gave it to somebody after that.
You give it
Um,
to your stepson.
nailed it. Yeah, I did.
And was in Utah, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah.
Were you being exposed to music at all during this time, or would you just stumble across it yourself?
Well, when I was growing up, my mom lived with my grandparents, and my grandpa listened to music like really loud in the house. It was the best, and he was always playing Fleetwood Mac, the Eagles, Jim Croce, the Beach Boys, and Don McLean. Those were like the five albums that were like
So
always on.
not your kind of style, not good music. He wasn't listening to great stuff.
Ex- exactly. So I had to like I was like I gotta write something that's good, and not this bullshit. I mean, I loved it when I was younger, and then I think that because it was like older and it was just kind of like what I grew up with. I didn't identify with it, like when you're like a young adult and then you get some like then you hear some like newer music or something and maybe it like speaks more directly to your um I don't know, like forming an identity and stuff. And so for me that was god, I don't even know. But yeah, it was like some newer bands and so I think I was kind of modeling my singing and songwriting off of that eventually, but when I first started doing it, I just kind of um was doing like whatever came to me. But I returned back to that other stuff later, um, and just I discovered that, like honestly, I discovered that I felt like it was kind of in me because I grew up hearing it, not like Fleetwood Mac, but like some of the songwritery stuff that I grew up listening to. I was like, oh, these sensibilities are kind of like, um, like in me, and I long to hear that kind of guitar style and stuff like that. And I think I pushed it away for a while until I got older.
What in hindsight, do you is there was there a reason why you pushed it back for so many years?
Oh yeah, I just think that I think that when you're well, I'll speak for myself. I think when I was younger, I was just trying to find like an identity, you know. And so it I don't think I always followed my heart, you know, because um I was like, "Oh, well, that's not what I'm supposed to be, or that's not cool, or that's not, you know, whatever." I mean, I grew up in a place where like even like it wasn't that cool to listen to like Fleetwood Mac, you know? Like when I was younger, like people weren't even doing that, you know, at bare minimum. But anyway, so yeah, I think the older I got, and the more into songwriting and music and I get, the more I am learning that trusting what the heart wants is like the ultimate compass, really, you know?
I think you have something there, I'll be
Yeah.
honest. Were you joining bands in your teenage years while you
Yeah,
progressed with the guitar?
yeah, when I got older, I didn't join bands until I was like probably like like 19, 20 at least. Um, but yeah, I had a band, and I would play with other people too, and here and there.
You were right outside of Salt Lake City when you were living in Utah, right?
Yeah, pretty close, like about an hour away. It was
Okay.
kind of like in the middle of nowhere, honestly. And then when my mom divorced my stepdad, I moved closer to the city.
Ah, alright. Was there
Yeah.
any kind of music scene going on around where you were living at the time? But, before you moved closer to the city even?
Oh, not that I knew of. No, because I hadn't really begun to play seriously, and I hadn't played for people, and I didn't know any musicians at all. So no, not that I know of.
And then once you moved closer to the city, were you kind of getting more into the music scene?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I wouldn't have called it the music scene, but it was like a group of us that like we'd have a bunch of house shows and stuff and share music. And I love that I like grew up with that. I'm really grateful for it because, you know, those guys like they were just kind of like I don't know. They didn't give a shit about what people thought about it really. You know, they were just like they were just doing it for fun and those house shows were like really sweet, you know. So it was cool. It was cool to grow up with that.
Were you doing it for the same reason? Was it just because it was fun? Was that, like, the driving force for you?
Yeah, like it was you know, you wanted to be good and you wanted to like earn your friends' respect and stuff like that. And maybe like, you know, write a cool riff or something like that. But yeah, I definitely never thought that there would be an audience for it. I can tell you that. Like at all, you know.
What were these house parties like? Were there a lot of people showing up, or it was
Uh,
kinda more
from time to
relaxed?
time. Yeah, sometimes there was like a lot of people. They were like college parties, you know. And sometimes they were like really reverent. Most of the time they were pretty reverent when people were playing, and then but then people would get like really drunk, you know. And yeah, it was super, like, you know, emotional songwriting too, like, from some of the young people at the time. I don't know, it's just great, it was fun.
But when did you start getting more serious with it? Was it around that time as well?
No, no, I don't think I was serious about it yet. Well, you know, so when I had this band that, it was kinda like a poppy, shoegazy kinda band, you know? It was like a lot of sound. You couldn't hear me sing at all, you know?
Yeah,
And,
too many pedals, doing too many things, yeah.
yeah, totally. It
I
was really
gotcha.
loud. And, anyway, I was invited to play the show in Salt Lake with the band, but then the bands couldn't do it. And I had been doing these solo songs, um, in my basement. I was, like, recording them onto a cassette deck on my turntable, and, I hadn't even told anybody about it. I was just kinda doing it for me, and it's weird because I think back on it, and I was totally doing it, like, kind of, like, compulsively. I didn't even realize it was on, like, I don't know, it's weird. I wasn't thinking about it, I was just doing it. I didn't talk about it because, I mean, truly, I didn't think anybody would care at all, you know? And when my band couldn't do it, I had all these songs because I had made this record in my basement, and the guy throwing the show was like, "Oh, you can just play it solo." And I was surprised he even said that, and then I played the show, and then I really looked up to this guy. He was a really cool guy. His name's David Payne, and he's just this amazing, like, kinda avant-garde jazz player, and he teaches all these kids to play in Salt Lake, and he hosts this night at this dive bar where he has his students come in and play jazz renditions of all these songs, and he'll, like, shred over it, and it's really great, and he was really kind to me about my performance, and honestly, that was what it took for me to, like, um, think it was worth anything, because I was so moved that he liked it, because he was so avant-garde and experimental and artistic, and I think I kind of, like, undervalued what I did in a big way because it's kind of traditionalist or, like, maybe classic, you know what I mean? And I was like, "This is not," um I almost just, yeah, I just kind of, didn't give it its due because of that, you know? But since someone like him liked it, I was like, "Oh, maybe it's okay," you know? And so I started playing solo more after that.
So that was a major turning point for you that, okay, there is some validity to what I'm putting my energy into.
Oh, yeah, big time. It was a huge validation. I needed that. So I'm really grateful to him for that.
And what year we kinda talking about at this point that this is occurring?
Oh, I was, 24, 25, maybe. I'm
Okay.
32 now, so
So last year.
exactly. Yeah, that's perfect math.
Yeah, yeah, it adds up and, yeah, leave a comment below if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I did the math on that right. And, you did you get your start doing these cassettes, right? That was also a driving force within this project that you were in that you were doing?
To call it a force at all would be, overestimating it, but,
A huge
yeah,
push.
I made tapes, you know? I still have them, you know what I mean? Like, they weren't a hot commodity, but, yeah, I mean, I made a tape of that first record that I made in my basement. It's called "Until Returning." You can listen to that on Bandcamp, um, and I liked that record because it's not very good, you know, but it was, like, my first kinda try at, like, songwriting. And then, what I do for my records is I try to write a song every day for a set period of time, and I record all the demos. And so I end up with, like, lots of songs, and I give the ones that I like to my friend Tucker, who runs this, like, DIY label called Phonic, and what he'll do is um, he'll make tapes of those, you know? At least he used to. And so for the for the deep for people deeply interested in my stuff, you know, there's not many, but, they would order a tape of those, like, demos, you know? So, it's cool. I like that, ritual, you know, or tradition that I've set up with him. It's cool. It's fun.
Is it still how you go through the process of writing today?
Uh-huh, yeah. I
N
do,
do
yeah.
Has that do you think if you did it a different way and didn't record everything and then send it off, do you feel like it would affect the outcome of the final product?
I guess it would. I mean, well, I can just tell you what I like about doing it that way. Um, so I think that I like it because sometimes, when I write slowly, I will put a lot of pressure on a song, you know? And I also maybe wanna go in different directions, and I won't because I'm working on one song and I don't wanna feel scatterbrained. And so doing it every day, I can be like, well, I've always wanted to write this kind of song, and I've always wanted to write that kind of song, or whatever. And I'll allow myself to do it, and I have to work within the boundary of a day, so I can't get scatterbrained. So I end up finishing things that kind of cover more ground than I normally would. And then I also find that when I'm then looking at them all together at the end, that they're not all that different from each other typically, at all. And so I it I like the process because it makes you feel like you're going out a lot further than you would, but then you actually didn't, So I think it's useful for me. I have to write quickly or I'll get bored or uninspired, and so it's really important for me to like capture it while I'm interested, or I just won't do it. And then the other thing about it is I have all these unfinished demos, and then by like day 15 or something, I'll be out of ideas, and I'll return to other demos and finish them. And so, yeah, I can't imagine doing it another way now. That's just kind of like my process. I have to do it all at once, or it's difficult for me.
Right. That's really interesting that you feel so free to do what you want to do with these songs, even though you're operating within a parameter. That's
Hmm.
really interesting.
Yeah, because I feel like you can always edit them later. But if they're not done, it's really hard to edit them. It's just this thing that's unfinished. That's like, I don't know. It It's weird. I feel like if a song's unfinished, it's like filled with unconscious fantasies. It's like it could be anything. And you almost don't let it be grounded. It's like on a pedestal or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it could be this, it could be that. But when it's done, it's like, that's it. Could use a bridge. You could use different words. You could put different voicings beneath it or whatever. But the basic thing is there and it's ready to work on. And so I like that. I need a foundation before I can begin.
Sure. Are these songs ever vastly different from the original idea that you had for them in the beginning? Looking at the final product and the first draft of it, is there ever like, oh my gosh, this doesn't even seem like the same song?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, at least demo to version on the record. Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely. Yeah. I like it that way. I kind of I feel like I play things differently a lot, and I'm okay with them being kind of you know, not loose, but I like to play them different ways.
There's a structure there, but it can be changed. So
Definitely.
you're very rigid in the beginning of it, and then it just gets more loose. Not to
Yeah,
use
I'm
that term.
I'm
I didn't mean to offend you, Sam. I didn't mean to use the term loose. No, but it has room for exploration.
yeah,
And
I feel like the boundaries or the boundaries are rigid in that it needs to be done by this deadline, but you can write whatever you want, you know? And and then putting it down and, you can put it down in a way that sounds good. That's it for me. Like, doesn't matter and it should have some cohesion with the rest of the album that it's on, but that's it.
is it hard to find a through line sometimes with albums like, like this does this really line up with this, or is this end meeting with this end in a certain
Uh,
way?
no, I found because I write, um, the songs together in a cluster, they tend to have a kind of through line of energy, that unites them, even if they're different, stylistically. Um, and then I try to make sure to pay attention to that a little bit, in recording it as well. But yeah, I haven't had trouble with that. Maybe I would if the songs were like, on different spans of time or something.
Yeah, like
You
if
know?
you worked on something for like 2 months and then took a 3 month break and then came back with, or to finish it even, yeah, you're at a different
Yeah.
headspace.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the headspace part of it is big, I think, too. Like you're
Okay.
processing different things. Maybe. I don't know.
Right. And it's even hard to put into words because it's more like a feeling. And it's definitely
Yeah.
the output of whatever the product is. that you're working on,
Yeah,
in this case, music, but that goes
yeah,
for everything.
I do too. I do too. I tend to not even think about it that much because, I've found that in hindsight, or, like, when you're done, you're looking at it, you're like, "Oh, yeah, it lines up," you know? And I've just learned to trust the process because it has always been that way so far, you know? But,
Right.
yeah.
So, at what point did you finally move, from Utah to California, Los Angeles?
Um, when I was, 26, I moved.
When did you come to the realization, like, "All right, I gotta move out here. I gotta do something else."
I was in a fight with my, girlfriend at the time. Not fight, it was really just more of a conversation, but we were, like, reaching a point in our relationship where it's like, "Oh, where are we gonna go? What are we gonna do?" You know? We've been together a long time. And she was like, "What would you do if we weren't in a relationship?" And I was like, "Well, I think I'd move because I've lived here my whole life." And she was like, "Well, then you have to move." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." And I moved a month later, and and I I just knew that I liked Los Angeles because I had been through, on, like, on a tour once, and I didn't know anybody, but yeah, I just decided to do it, and I did it.
That's crazy.
I know. I just lived in my car for a second too. It was like it was wild. I'd never done anything like that, and I never, like, even left Utah before, but yeah, a
Wow.
lot of things lined up, and it was great. So,
Just out of one conversation, and then that'll do it.
yeah, dude, I was like, "Wait, I can move? I can just do that? Like, okay, let's do it," you know?
Yeah, wow. What were you feeling when you were kinda driving and
Dude, yeah.
just, on the road? What was going through your mind at that time?
I was pretty nervous. I was excited, like, I felt like I could reinvent, um, myself. I felt like I was like a blank canvas, and I wanted to do things that, I was, like, too afraid to do in, like, in my little bubble in Utah, and I just wanted to not be ashamed of anything that I was interested in and just kinda go for it, you know? And, yeah, I, like I did a bunch of funny things. I, like, kinda over swung it for a second, and then I found some equilibrium, so.
So, first night in Los Angeles, you slept in your car.
Uh-huh, yeah, I did.
Did you know that you're like, "All right, I gotta sleep in the car tonight." Was that going through your
That
mind
was
as
kind
you're
of the
driving?
that was kind of the plan because, I knew that I wasn't gonna be getting a hotel room, and I felt like I could do it pretty easily, and then I ended up, after a little while, my my ex, she had some family in Long Beach, and they were just like, "Hey,
You're
you
staying
could."
with the ex's family, the lady that told you, "Hey, you gotta go do this?"
Yeah, but, well, we stayed together, though.
Oh, okay, alright.
So I went and stayed with her, like, I don't even know, aunt and uncle, and,
Wait, so
they
so
were
so
super
you
sweet.
guys stayed together and then but she still told you that you gotta go out and pursue this?
Yeah, she just supported me. She's like, "Hey, you gotta move. Let's do it long distance for a while." And so we stayed together for, like, a year before we broke up, and we're still, like, super great friends. I really love her. She's an amazing person.
Wow, that's awesome. So you
Yeah.
headed to Long Beach.
Yeah. And,
So
yeah, and I
that
became a
was
pro
kind of
skateboarder.
that was the first kind of, like, experience with it? That was your first taste of Los Angeles was by the coast?
Yeah, dude, it was great. I didn't even really explore it that much. I rode my bike around a lot. But yeah, I had some funny things happen. Like, I finally got a job, and, it was this coffee shop, Stories bookstore?
Yeah.
Um, and so I didn't know my way around Los Angeles at all, and I just started there. I got the job. I was so happy to get it, and then I closed up the shop and locked it, and I realized I had left my cell phone in there, and I locked my cell phone in Stories. I remembered how to get back to Long Beach, but when I had to go back to work the next morning, I did not remember how to get there at all, and I took a wrong turn, and I ended up completely lost. And I kept stopping at gas stations, and I'd be like, "Do you know where Echo Park is?" And they'd be like, "No." And, like, I was hours late,
Wait,
and,
so you had, you didn't have keys with you? You locked the door, but there's no key
No,
to get back. There's no way to get back in.
no, it's like a I don't remember what kind of lock it was. I think it was like a
One that you couldn't open. That's the kind of lock it was.
exactly. So yeah, that was funny.
So I mean, so you'd pull over and ask people like, "Hey, how do I get here or
Yeah,
to
I'd be
this
like, "You know
vicinity?"
where Echo Park is?" They'd be like, "No." And this has happened to me a few times, not the locking of the phone, but, like, my phone will die and I'll need directions somewhere. I'll be like, "You know where Atwater Village is?" They're like, "No." No one knows where anything is anymore.
So during those kind of early days of you, working at Stories, right? You said it was
Mhm. Yeah.
Stories and living in Long Beach. Were you pursuing music?
Um, it took a back seat. I my friend moved to New York, like, a few years ago, like, a few years before I moved, and he was like, "I just moved to, like, experience the city." And I loved that idea, and I just really wasn't very, good or confident in myself at that time, and I was like, "I'm not gonna go to, like, try to make a music career happen because I knew I wasn't ready to do it at all, and I was like, "I just wanna go see what other artists are doing," because I'd seen some people come through, Utah, and they were playing stuff that, like, really inspired me, and so I wanted to just go to some shows and see some new stuff outside of, like, this little bubble of Utah, and that's all I did for a while. I was just going to shows and meeting people, and yeah, that was really inspiring to me. And then after that period, kind of in private, since I felt removed from all these people that knew me, I started singing and playing more, and then I started writing songs. But like I until that happened, like I used to sing just whispering. You couldn't even hear me do it. I was so scared to do it, and like it took me a really long time just to even try to use my voice. Um, so yeah, it was cool. The anonymity really helped me out.
How did you get past that point of
Just,
being
just,
timid about singing?
just singing a lot by myself, and just kind of like working the muscle, I guess.
Sure. And then maybe turning off some of the, pedals when you're shoegazing.
Yeah,
T-
totally.
turn some of them off, leave some of them on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And now I haven't even played electric guitar, and I don't even know how long.
Really?
Yeah, I miss it, but I kind of want to bust it out again.
Maybe. We'll see. Maybe
Huh.
go
Get
go
get to
go
playing.
get the old one. Go get your your
Yeah,
stepdad's. Yeah. Uh,
for
do
my
you
son.
yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. Gotta gotta keep that relationship open to go get that guitar. That's the only reason why you'd have a relationship with your stepson. um, do you recall your first show that you went to out in LA? Like in during that time of
Yeah,
taking a break?
yeah. I definitely do. It was the first show I went to was Big Search, Matt Populux band. Do you know him?
Big Search rings a bell. Not Matt. You said Matt Papa.
Popular. He's the guy that it's his project, and I
Okay,
saw him open for Cass McCombs in Utah, and he came out and he just played some songs on a 12 string, like solo first, and then he had a band. But when he played solo and he sang, I was like, "Fuck, this is so good." I loved it, and it was kind of like giving me permission to do what I wanted to do because I hadn't really seen anybody trying to do that, especially not anybody doing it well in Utah. So I was like, "Damn, that's so great." And then Casey Johansson opened. I don't know if you know her, but her music's amazing too, and she ended up singing on my first album a bunch.
wow, what a full circle thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to see him, and then now we're good friends too. I was like, "Hey, remember me? I saw you in Utah," and whatever. And then we just kept talking about records and stuff, and we've all become friends. Casey noticed me because I was leaning into my new lifestyle, and I was like, I want to dress like differently. So I started wearing like suits for a while, and she noticed me because I was wearing a suit. So she came up to me and she's like, I saw that you were watching the show, and I noticed you because you're wearing this suit." And I was like, "Oh, cool. I'm Sam. It's nice to meet you." And then we were friends ever since too. So it's cool.
Hey, I mean, hey, dress for the job you want, Sam, and people say that and they mean it. Yeah. For those of you at home, you just got to wear a suit. Yeah.
Put a tie on. Put-
Look proper.
Yeah.
Are you good at tying ties?
No, I never do the tie when I wear a suit.
Oh, you're cash guy.
Cash suit. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, would you still dress in a suit? Do you feel weird in a suit
Mhm.
now?
No,
Or
I still wear it sometimes. I like a casual looking suit. It reminds me of like, I mean, people used to do it all the time, like, but it reminds me of like Leonard Cohen or,
right?
Dylan or something. And yeah, it's a good look. I like it.
No, yeah, it's yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Good looking suits are yeah, they're good looking for a reason.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, it's like, I don't know. I don't always feel like it anymore.
Do you think you'll ever revert back? Like suits
Yeah,
every day?
every day. Yeah,
Every day.
I bet I will. I think that when I think I could see that being a nice thing if I were like maybe older and I wanted to downsize because the suit everyday thing was kind of amazing because you never had to think about what you were going to wear. You just put it on a different shirt and you were good to go.
Right, right.
I could see myself being drawn to that again.
Yeah.
I love how like the people from the other they had their like vacation wear. They had their like everything was so specific with their clothing. I I love that. It's great.
Yeah. You wear certain things for certain occasions, certain
Hmm.
events. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah,
wardrobe.
time wear, cocktail wear, smoking jackets, all that kind of
Ooh,
stuff.
yeah, nice smoking jacket. I don't think I've ever seen one in person, but
Hmm.
if I see one for sale, I might just have to buy it, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But then again, it's like, who's making new smoking jackets? Who's cornering that market?
Yeah, there's probably a pop up somewhere.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So since from the suit era of yours, have you have you reverted back to what you were wearing before?
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah. My style hasn't changed that much. My or lack of style, honestly. But yeah, I did enjoy suit phase. That's about as far out as I've ever been.
Yeah, it's good.
Hmm.
It's good to be out that far.
Thank you.
What was your time duration of kind of exploration and taking a step back from music? What was that whole time frame like?
It was great. I mean, I had such an open mind and open heart at the time. Um, and I was just letting myself be moved by what people were doing in the city, and I was just taking in the new city, and oh, it was just wonderful. And there was a part of me that felt sad that I couldn't participate, and I did have a longing to participate, and I truly did not think I would ever be able to. Um, and I was like literally shocked when I started playing some of my songs and I was getting some support from some of my peers that I looked up to. And yeah, so I mean, it was really validating and yeah, exciting for me, inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you do you recall the first time you got up on stage in while living in Los Angeles
on stage.
or to perform?
Well, I had a I wrote a bunch of songs and then I had a house show at my place to kind of celebrate like me finishing all these songs and then kind of stepping into playing. So
And that was in Long Beach with your ex-girlfriend's aunt and uncle, right?
oh no, I had moved.
That was with them. You
I
said,
I
"Hey,
only stayed
I'm gonna
I
throw
only
a show here."
I only stayed there for like a couple weeks, but um yeah, Henry and Pauline, they're legends. But anyway,
Shout out
I
to them. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
major shout out. But yeah, so I had a house show, and Casey played it, and Anna St. Louis played it, and I think it was us.
She's fantastic.
Oh yeah,
I saw her recently, and it was great, great
oh
stuff.
she's so good,
Yeah.
so good. Yeah, totally. It's just a good crew of people. They're good people.
Where'd you move to after leaving the place in Long Beach to
Oh, Highland Park.
okay.
Yeah, I've basically been there since.
It's not a bad place. I mean,
Not a bad.
it's no Long Beach, let's be honest here, but not a bad place.
No, it's not Long Beach, but Long Beach is pretty dope too. But I I like Highland Park a lot. It's great.
You think you'll ever move back to Long Beach though?
I mean, I definitely wouldn't be against moving back to Long Beach, um, if if the time came, you know,
If it did,
if it did.
when it
I
does.
like I
Really,
like
let's
Long
be
Beach.
honest.
Yeah.
When the suits come back, you're moving back to Long Beach. That's that's gonna happen at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm drawn to Northern California, not like the Bay Area necessarily, but a little more north. I'm pretty drawn to
So like
that
Santa Barbara area, yeah.
even more
No,
north.
no,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, yeah, maybe Santa Monica, maybe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Northern part. Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Nailed it.
uh, at what point did you start joining other people's groups in and kind of getting in? Was that also kind of your way of getting into this scene that was happening around this area of Los Angeles
And,
at the time?
when I joined stuff here in Los
Yeah.
Angeles, well, I think the only thing that I joined was Sylvie, and then I do play with Haley and Lady Appletree. Um, but no, Ben basically took me in when I went through a breakup, and I stayed at his house for a second, and that was really sweet of him to do. And um, then we started just playing a bunch. It was like kind of during the pandemic, so we were playing covers and just jamming all the time. And I think that was how it happened. And then he had
And we're gonna check with Ben, by the way, because I mean he was just on, and I'm gonna we're gonna
yeah,
get him
you
on
can
the
fact check this.
we're gonna get him on the
Yeah, I
phone.
don't.
We're gonna get him on the phone. Yeah, we're gonna.
Yeah, split screen. I don't remember. I think it was something like that. And he had already like made the track for Sylvie, and he was like, "Oh, you'd be a good fit on this." And so I just sang on it, and then we were just like hanging all the time, and then we did Steel in Time together, and we did a little tour. But I it was funny because I always said to him when he posted the photos with it kind of looked like it was a band or whatever, but I was like, I didn't really do much here. Like you did all the work, you did everything. So I don't even know if I was like in it or not, but I was a part of the touring band. I played on some tracks, but it wasn't like a big thing. It just felt like a friendly thing at the time.
It's not a big thing. It was a huge thing. Gotcha.
It
And
was a massive thing. Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah, that's what I've heard before. I just want to make sure. Just wanted to re up on that.
Yeah, totally. And then
Uh,
Haley, I just play acoustic guitar with her and sing some backups. So
Back to your roots with the acoustic guitar. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I
N-
love acoustic guitar, man.
not touching an electric.
Don't want to. Actually, I do. I do want to.
I don't know where you lie on this, Sam, but I'm really curious now. It's like, well, what are you gonna do the next time that
Really
it's just
keep you
there?
on your keep you on your toes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what side of the fence you're on that.
Yeah.
Did you feel like yourself and Ben during that time that you guys were living together were on the same page musically? Like, oh, it'd be cool to kind of work on some tracks like this.
I think so. I mean, I'm much more I would say what I do is a lot more simple. Um and he's quite a bit more sophisticated with his approach to music. Um I personally didn't really think I was the best vocal fit on Sylvie. Like I didn't think that when I would hear the recordings, I would always kind of be like, I don't know if this is right, you know? Uh Live, I liked it. Um and they're anyway, the styles are definitely compatible. Um they're compatible. But I do think it is that we're I do think that we're doing different things, even though it's both a bit like based in tradition and classical songwriting or whatever. But I think we're going at it very from very different lines.
which is
Do
good
you?
though. Which
Yeah,
is
absolutely.
yeah, it's good to have two different or people come from two different kind of corners coming in to
Mhm.
do something together because you're coming from different angles,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? At what point did you decide, all right, let let me do a full album of just my stuff?
I didn't even yeah, I don't even think I had met Ben like before I did all that. Anyway, I finished the songs. I played the show in at Gold Diggers, and then my friend Jarvis. I didn't know him yet either, but he said that he would like to record me after that show, and so
At Gold Diggers, and this was pre the album coming out or
oh yeah, because
post
I hadn't recorded anything. I just was playing some shows,
playing a show.
and
Yeah.
mhm,
All right.
and
I'm piecing it together over here. Gotcha,
mhm,
Sam. All right. Yeah, I got a whole string board over here with post-it notes on it. So
hell yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yarn and such.
Detective Burnett.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I made that with Jarvis, and it got I mean, the whole process got pretty put on hold because I was trying to release it when the pandemic was hitting. So that whole period was a bit strange, but
Right. Were the songs that were on that first album, were they written while you were living in LA, or were there some that were old ideas from
no, they
Utah?
were all they were all from LA.
Or from LA?
They I did like a 30-day songwriting thing and I wrote them.
Of course. I mean, there's no other way to do it.
I
That what
I
has to
I
happen.
couldn't do it another way. Yeah. I really couldn't.
When the wheels started to turn on this, are we talking about 2019?
Yeah, maybe it was 2019. It could have been 2018 even. Um, yeah, when he like first came up to me. The thing is it took a long time because I was paying for it myself, at the time, and Jarvis was definitely giving me a deal, but it definitely wasn't like cheap, and so it took me a while just to be able to afford to get studio dates, and luckily it all went pretty smoothly because I don't even know what I would have done. It's funny because I tried to make my second record and I had to try to do it twice because it just wasn't going smoothly. And so I there was definitely luck with the first one.
And that was the I Can Go With You album
Uh-huh. Yeah.
that eventually came out in 2020, right? That was
Uh-huh.
the year that it was
Yeah.
released.
Yeah.
How did you feel working? I mean, obviously there was some stress with, getting studio time and whatnot, but what was that process like for you? Was it like, did you feel any differently than what you were doing with like cassettes before you moved?
It was really great. I mean, Jarvis found the the musicians that played on it. And I was like a little bit tentative, like adding any production to it because I had always just heard it kind of like really stripped down. And so even drums on some of them, I was like, oh, I don't know. But I'm really glad that he pushed me to do that because I love the drumming on that record. I think that's a highlight for me is the drums. Uh, Jesse, I think it's Queveman Turley. I don't know how to say one of his
But
names, but
Jesse, man, did a fantastic job.
yeah, he did a great job. He's such a good drummer. So yeah,
Did
it
you
was so
so did you
fun.
did you know any of these people that were like working with
No,
you before that?
no,
Oh, okay.
yeah, and so yeah, I mean, they were delightful though. And Aaron O'Time played all the keyboards. I think he did an amazing job. Jarvis played the bass. Casey came in and played drums and sang and played some keys on "Nothing Touches Me," the first song. And yeah, um, yeah. So it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure to work with them.
Yeah. Did that how did you feel when you first got that record? Did you feel like, "Oh my gosh, this is it? Like, this is a great like, this is where I'm at with my music and being in Los Angeles and starting something new to come to this?"
No, sadly, no. I think I had lost the sense of gratitude by that point. I was so like eager. I was like, oh, I wish I wish I could play shows. I wish I could get out there, and I couldn't at the time. Um, and then now I have way more gratitude for it. I also was like down on the record for a while. Like I was like, oh, there's a couple songs I like on there, but then I don't like any of the other ones. And but now, with time, I'm like, oh, that's a piece that I made, and it marks an amount of time, and I love it, and I love the people that played on it and stuff. So my perspective has shifted a bit. Not that it won't regress back to that, tyrannical one, but I don't know. Yeah, I feel proud of it, and whatever.
Right, no,
Yeah,
that's good. We'll leave it out of whatever. No,
yeah.
that's amazing.
Thanks, man.
Did you write any of the instrumentation for the other parts of that album for other people to join in
No,
with?
no. It was so like off the cuff. Like everything was pretty live, and um, but the playing was just great. That it could work that way.
Yeah, and again, you're racing kind of against time to get it done.
100%. Yeah, like I think there were, probably songs where like I would have liked to have spent time on the arrangement, but it like was not an option. And I had beginner's mind at the time in there where I was just like, kind of like, yeah, well, whatever happens, kind of happens. It was just exciting to hear anything on tape at that point. Um, but yeah, looking back, there's maybe a song or two I would probably like arrange more.
Right. Do you think that you would have looked at it completely differently, the process of making it differently if you hadn't kind of worked in the capacity that you do work?
What I will say is that my contribution to the production of that record was basically that when we started, I think we were doing it kind of in a typical way where we were like trying to layer it and do things like that, and I was like totally uninspired, and I was like, I need to make this record with the same energy that I wrote it in. And so I wanted to do it off the cuff. I felt like it was so important for it to feel off the cuff and recorded like, in that same spirit. And so I even plugged my voice into the twin reverb amp that I had been singing the demos out of because I liked that reverb on my voice. And then we split the signal like a clean signal and that. So it was exactly how it was when I was doing the demos, except other people were also playing it live with me. And then once we started doing it that way, I like fell in love with the process and I started liking the way the songs were turning out. So
Okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah.
You're stressed for a minute, but then it all worked out.
Yeah, I don't this is funny too because I think my music sounds so earnest and precious or whatever, but I don't like when things feel too precious and like we're like building the perfect track. It's like, no, I think it's got to feel it has to have and maybe that's the balance because my songs are kind of like emotional or whatever that like it has to have some spirit of like playfulness on it and you know little fire or something like that, even though you probably can't hear that in it, but
That's shown, and people that listen to this will go back and actually maybe feel that, like, "Oh, okay, there is that certain sense there," and, of course, that's translated when you're playing live,
Mhm.
like,
Totally.
obviously, and you're watching people do it, and you're hearing it differently,
Right.
you know? Because I know you like to improvise, you're like Miles Davis in that way, just like, "Whatever, let's fucking go crazy with it."
Yeah, I'm like Miles Davis, exactly.
Yeah, yes, and that's a direct quote. I'm like Miles Davis, exactly.
Dude.
Sam.
Dude, I'll tell you about a quote that was like the funniest shit to me. I was so like kind of like I don't know, whatever. Anyway, I did an interview with Mojo magazine, and they were like, "How'd you get this tour with Wise Blood?" And I was like, "Oh well, I actually read her tarot cards because I read tarot cards, you know." And I was like, I think that's kind of how it happened. She asked me for a tarot reading. I posted, and then we got together and we connected, and then we kind of became friends. And so I think that's kind of why it worked out that way. And when the article came out, it was just a giant box in the middle of the article that was the pull quote, and it said, "I read tarot for Wise Blood." I was like, first of all, I didn't even say those words. Second of all, that's a fucking stupid pull quote, you know? It was so funny. It's totally like, you know, I'm like Miles Davis, you know? Like that would be the vibe.
When did you decide that it was time to start working on the second album that is out now? Go buy it. Yeah, because we're only like a week out from the release as of
Right.
where when we're recording this.
When did I decide? I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I it was it was in 2020 that I did it.
Oh, so it was
And
like basically back to back working on these two records.
I guess so, but you know, like I met Jarvis in like 2018, I think, and or maybe even 2019. I don't remember the timeline exactly, but I had already written the songs, so it had been years. And I'd written a few more here and there, but I hadn't really begun the process for the next one. You know, it at least took like 2 or 3 years for me to like really um, hunker down and do it.
So some of them ideas were floating around, and then you
A
finally sat
couple,
down.
yeah. I had written that both of them are out already. I had written "Leaving Here Still" and I had written "Long Way Around," but the other ones I hadn't. They were all new.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
and speaking of those two singles, there was three singles. Those two and Maria, right? That was
yeah. Technically, I guess there's four because I put one out today, um, called "I Don't Blame You."
and there's two videos, right?
Yeah,
For
yeah. Yeah, there's the video today, and then the video for
Maria, right?
Maria. Yeah.
How are you feeling right now about this album? I mean, and of course we're talking about May 23rd right now, so kind of
Well,
a little bit of ways right now. But what's going through your mind?
as a piece, um, I've not heard anything quite like it as a piece, you know? And it has a very strange mood to it to me. I don't know, there's something about it that I really admire and like and respect. And the musicians I worked with are incredible. Uh, Jonathan Wilson produced it. Um, I'll just say their names real quick. Jake Blanton played bass. Omar Velasco played acoustic guitar. Drew Erickson did the keys and the strings, and Grant uh, Milliken did some keys and engineered. And I don't know, I'm really proud of it as a piece.
Heavy hitters there, dude.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, definitely, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I you know, it's good. I wonder if I don't know if people will listen to it. I don't know who the audience is for it, but I am proud of it. You know,
yeah. The people who it needs to get to, it'll get to.
totally.
When did you decide the name?
Well, I had this really long-winded name, and I
Which
was
was
talking.
what was it? What was the original? Was it rough draft?
It's taken from a song, um, and the song it goes, uh, "Where the valley's low, there's peace to find, but now don't the stars look so very high?" And that I was going to call it "Don't the stars look so very high?" Because I was thinking about it like, there's this idea of hope, but it's also so far away. and it feels daunting or something like that. And I was pitching it to my friend John Tottenham, the poet, and he's like, "Oh, that's a dreadful name." And he's like, I especially don't like the so very part." And I was like, "Well, I don't disagree." And he's like, "Why don't you let me title it?" And I was like, "Well, all right, pitch." And he pitched a few names, and I liked Dear Departed because it captured a similar spirit of of holding this tension of being like, in one way it's death, but in one way it's like a new journey, you know. And
Yeah.
so it captured the same kind of essence that I thought my long-winded one did, but it did it in a much more concise, with, with more brevity. So I took it, and John Tottenham, he named it.
Shout out to John.
Yeah.
This is already happened. So I mean, I'm just
Right.
prefacing this, but
Hmm.
you're playing two separate album release show parties for this album release show parties shows. I don't know,
Yeah.
however you would phrase it. Let's get John in here to kind of zhuzh it up a bit, so we won't have to screw it up again. But yeah, you're playing two different release shows for this album.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from to do that?
um I don't know. I kind of was like, I don't think we should do that. Because I was like, I don't know if enough people are gonna come. But I think it was based on my residency shows that I did at TG, and those were like really packed out. And so I think they were like, "Oh, well, Gold Diggers is a small room. We should book 2 nights because the residency shows were so packed out." But I was like, "Yeah, but that's like a neighborhood bar, and it was free, you know." So this is like, in Hollywood, and $20 a ticket or whatever. So I don't know if that was smart, but maybe.
But the shows are great, right? And it was amazing, and it was so
Oh,
sick,
right, because
right?
it already happened. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you know what? It was wild because there was like, it sold out both nights.
right. And then I heard
Uh,
that because I wasn't there the first night, but I heard that
Right,
Neil Young was there.
Diamond actually.
Oh, okay,
Right, yeah, but he was there.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
good turnout.
right. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
Really good.
yeah. And then yeah, Neil was there, of course, and Patti Smith was also
Well,
there.
she wrote about she wrote about it. Yeah, she did.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't. This is just all hearsay that I heard, but that's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
she did a piece
yeah.
on it like Hunter S. Thompson would, right?
Yeah, yeah, and she actually paid me to do it. Um,
Right. And
so
she was working for Mojo magazine or something.
right, yeah, exactly. Did I
Yeah.
mention I read tarot cards for Wise Blood? Did I tell you that?
I didn't hear it from you, but I did. I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad the word's getting around, so I
Yeah,
appreciate
no,
that.
yeah, because I and then um Patty obviously told me, she's like, "Oh yeah, he wanted that like blown up
Yeah.
right
Did
in the
she call
middle."
did she call you about
Well, yeah, I mean we have correspondence. I mean it's journalist to journalist, so
it?
like of course we're gonna talk.
Oh, man. Yeah,
Um,
typical.
typical, of course. Sam, what do you want people to take away from this new album that you're putting out?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I just, whatever they whatever they feel is good with me, you know? I'll be,
Gonna
if they
we're
listen
gonna
to it.
we're gonna print that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm, mhm.
Whatever they feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no, I'm not trying to do anything specifically. I just, yeah, I'm excited to just be doing it, and, I wanna keep doing it. And yeah, there's no, like, specific goal. If people get something out of it, I mean, I'm so grateful for that because it lets me keep doing it. And it's really cool to touch people with music, and it's weird too because every time you do something, there's really like no guarantee that you'll ever do it again. At least that's how I feel. um And so it's kind of a strange thing, like, you could write a song that maybe connects with people, but you may not write another one that does, you know? And you just have to be you just get lucky sometimes or whatever, you put in the work and you I don't know, it's just good to do it, I guess, you know?
So it's gonna be everybody's favorite album of all time.
This record of mine?
Yes.
Yeah, it's that my record is my favorite record,
Your favorite, and also it'll be everybody else's favorite who listens to it, right?
naturally,
Of
yeah.
course, per usual. Sam, it really has been a pleasure,
Yeah,
and
likewise. Thanks for making me laugh so much.
well, thank you for coming on and laughing and having a good time.
Yeah, my pleasure.
But before I let you go, Sam, I got some promo to do here, and we got a lot of stuff to promote.
Okay.
So Sam's new album. I'm glad that you started it with a cough. That's good. Sam's new album, Dear Departed, is out now via Partisan Records. You can go buy it through their store, which is store.partisanrecords.com, or through Sam's Bandcamp, which is at samburton.bandcamp.com. And you could also find the first album that we were just talking about. Remember we were just talking about that?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're just chatting about that.
right.
You can find the first album, I Can Go With You, through the Bandcamp as well, and through Tompkins Square's Bandcamp, which is tompkinssquare.bandcamp.com. You can find the music video for I Don't Blame You on Sam's YouTube, and for Maria, and that can be found at Partisan, right? Partisan Records YouTube, and
Right.
that'll be linked below. Both of those will be linked below, and you can stay up to date with news, releases, and everything else by following Sam on Instagram at Sam Burton, that's three N's on the end of that. It's not just
Mhm,
one N; it's three N's.
mhm.
And there's the GoFundMe for
Yes.
the. So for those who don't know, could you explain that a little bit, Sam?
Yeah, when I was in Sylvie, we were driving home from a tour and, we got into a really bad accident, and it was kind of unavoidable, like, we got cut off basically on the road, and there was a car parked in the passing lane, and we were driving this old van, so when the brakes were hit, it just kind of spun out of control and hit the parked car, so luckily we all lived, and honestly, it's a miracle that we did, because it was really bad, but we did, and so, um, we're just raising some money to cover medical bills and, the cost of the van, so you
Yeah,
can
it
it
was
may
it
be
was
taken down by then, but if it's not, you can donate to it.
it was a borrowed van, right? Like somebody borrowed it from a
It
friend.
was a borrowed van, yeah, it was just so unfortunate because the guy really loved his van too, like, really adored the van, but he got an equally cool, old, like, Grand Cherokee or something like that, so
Which is also cool. Yeah, if it is still up and if it is still active when this comes out, go donate to that, because you guys are really close to the number.
yeah, we're super close, it's amazing.
Yeah. So go ahead and go donate to that if you can. And yeah, and Sam, do we have anything else to promote?
Um, yeah, no, I don't think so, man, thanks for having me on, and this is a pleasure.
Thank you, Sam. And one more time, that's Sam Burton on Instagram to keep up everything with dates and news. It's all the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Everything and more. Long Beach living, all this stuff. Yeah, on Instagram.
Lifestyle.
Sam, man, thank you so much for coming on, and I'm gonna
Of
stop
course.
recording this, and I'll talk to you in a minute. All right?
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Thank you.